Okay, so for those of you who are unfamiliar with Mr. Adventure, this show is called The Amazing Pulp Adventure starring Mr. Adventure. It's available at pulpadventures.net. This show's been going on for about 5-6 years now. Davey Beauchamp he wrote a book and he released the prologue online. I really dug it. I discovered that I could do this really cool voice and I was looking for a place to do it. I discovered the voice by playing a video game by LucasArts. I don't even remember what it was called for the Xbox. And I realized I could do that character's voice. And so I started using that character's voice to talk smack to my friends that were playing with me. And so I'd always wanted to do something with that. And I absolutely love pulp style kind of adventures. Stuff like Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow. Some things that involve a little bit of steampunk, a little bit of diesel punk here and there, but mainly giant robots, alternative history, that kind of stuff. Mr. Adventure has done numerous live appearances. As I said, it's also been going for about 5-6 years. Been doing it at cons for a long time. It's a lot of fun. And I'm always honored to be able to have old friends, new friends, very talented voice actors to help me out with it. Why don't we go ahead and give quick introductions and say what character you're going to be playing? We'll go ahead and start over there.
I'm Susan D, and I will be playing the White Light Guardian.
I'm Stuart Jaffe, and I'll be playing Shadow Smasher.
I'm Indiana Jim, and I will be Scott.
I'm Alan Welch, I'm the news reporter.
Andrew Gilbertson, I will be playing Adventure Lad.
I'm Stephen Ewan Cobb, and I will be sponsor.
I'm Anthony Karnowski, and I'll be playing Commander Beard.
I'm Sarah Gilbertson, and I'll be playing Alien Voice.
And I'm Podcasting's Rich Sigfret. I play some of the main characters, such as the narrator, Mr. Adventure, Solomon Stone, quite a few of the other characters that we normally incorporate, such as Kid Adventure, and a few others. I tend to do the voices for those.
Multiple personality syndrome.
Yes, it's more therapy for me, really.
Because they all get to come out.
Everybody should probably scoot this way so Sarah's not hiding behind the speaker as much as she would like to.
You know.
I'll explain a little bit of the gimmick of the show. It does take place in an alternate universe. What you will be hearing is actually the fictionalized accounts of the real-life superheroes in Sapphire City. The real heroes go around fighting crime and whatnot, and much like you'll see a little bit of meta in some franchises were there's a comic book of the superhero, of his exploits. This is kind of what that is. These are, what we like to say is these are the recordings that went out in Sapphire City in the 1940s, right around the time of World War II. And you guys are going to be able to hear some of the audio dramas that took place then. Of course, in real life, as I said, they are written by Davey Beauchamp and myself. And I'm really hoping Joe shows up soon because I'm running out of stuff to talk about.
You just called me. So,
I just texted him.
That's all right. I'm going to do it. Nathan looked at me like, what are you doing here? Isn't it next door? I was like, isn't it here? He's like, no, it's next door. I'm like, isn't it in room 2? He's like, yes. This is room 3, isn't it? Yes. That's what happens when you've had about 4 or 5 hours of sleep. Which I think some of our folks here are probably rocking the same thing. So on the panel here, we have some podcasters, we have some authors and podcasters. We have an artist in Alan Welch. She's the major artist. You're also the art guest of honor, correct?
That's right.
Wow, excellent.
Thank you.
And a nice hat.
And a damn nice hat. I like those goggles.
Thank you. Oh, yes. Picked them out of thousands.
Oh, very cool.
Hey, are you on
Okay, on the count of 3,
It's the
everybody
same
yell,
when we were
hurry
in
up. 1, 2, 3.
It's in the same room we were just in with the podcast. Oh, sure. He's lost, so I'm going to
I got to get on the microphone.
This is first con, bless him.
You're out of line.
Yeah.
The master hands out his directions.
Thank you all for waiting for me.
Oh, no, actually, we just finished. Thanks for coming.
We said we'd let you go back and do makeup. We'll just wait while you recite all your lines and then we'll leave.
All right, and of course, Joe is going to be playing Dr. Richards, Dr. Peter Richards.
Ooh. How can I be Dr. Richards?
Well, because I thought you'd do a tremendous job as Scott, because it actually requires, like, you know, acting capabilities.
What, being Saunders? Can I be Keanu? My name is Scott.
There's a giant robot. Here's an example of Keanu Reeves' fine acting styles. You may remember Paula Abdul had a video called Rush Rush. And at one point in time during the music, they stop, and she says, "I've never been in love before. Do you think that's sad?" And he says, "Sad? No. Top Gun actor." All right, so, actors ready?
No.
Audience ready? Are you guys ready to rock? No, come back in 5 minutes. All right. Welcome once again to the Amazing Pulp Adventures radio show, starring everyone's favorite hero of the city of tomorrow today, Mr. Adventure. Once again, we come to you from the venue of our very first live show, ConCarolinas, in lovely Charlotte, North Carolina. We want to thank ConCarolinas for the continued support of our humble show. When we last left our heroes, they were face to face with Commander Baird of the White Light Guardian Empire. He had captured Mr. Adventure in the daring rescue of Sapphire City's very own White Light Guardian. Commander Baird had given the last free city of the world, Sapphire City, an ultimatum for its surrender. But the White Light Commander had no idea of the ace up our hero's sleeves. Of course, neither did they. It was thanks to the brilliant mind of Dr. Peter Richards and the power of the Atomic Fist and his Black Light Gauntlet. The Black Light Gauntlet was designed as a failsafe to act against the White Light Guardians should they ever go renegade. We ended our last chapter in this universe-spanning tale with a brilliant blast of white light that metamorphed into every color in the known visual spectrum.
Hello, my name is Scott.
Hello, Scott.
I was there that day when the blinding light came. It was as though Jesus had finally returned to carry his believers home. The light faded after a while, but then there was a scream. It was like 1,000 souls crying out in pain. Everyone that was around couldn't believe their eyes. Those evil white light guardians just fell out of the sky. They had these white glowing auras that faded to nothingness. Doc Phantom still had that invisible power shield around Sapphire City, so it caught all those falling bodies. Some would say it was the right thing to do. They would say that making sure they weren't terribly hurt would make us better than them. Me, I don't say much anymore.
That worked better than I could have hoped for.
What were you expecting?
I don't know for certain. The hope was that the energy beam would overload their gauntlets, much like our Doc Phantom was in danger of with their energy bombardments. I wasn't sure if the gauntlets would retain any power, or if they had reserve power supplies to remount their offensive.
You took a pretty big gamble there, didn't you?
Science, my dear lady. Let alone this business that you and Mr. Adventure are in. It's all about the gamble. And the bigger the gamble, the more magnificent the reward can be.
Doc, I am not sure what happened to you while you were gone, but
Shouldn't we check on Mr. Adventure?
and what are we going to do with all of our friends here?
A good question indeed. With all of these unconscious invaders, Atomic Fist knew that his work there was done. He quietly whispered his thanks and vanished with his black gauntlet. We knew that this darker Dr. Richards may very well have taken the Atomic Fist's arm off just to get to the technology within his gauntlet. The few heroes present gathered around the kneeling Mr. Adventure. Before the great energy beam had been unleashed, his battered body had been thrown to the ground when Commander Baird appeared, issuing his ultimatum. Mr. Adventure looked around and with a pained smile looked to his friends and comrades. Well, I guess it's thanks to the quick mind of Dr. Richards that we're still standing.
I hope you can now see that Braun isn't the...
Hey, don't forget the Atomic Fist and I pitched in a hand.
Speaking of the Atomic Fist, where'd he run off to?
That's a shame. I wanted to thank him for helping us. I had hoped that when he saw what it was like when you help instead of destroy, he'd join us for good.
And with his newfound power, he'd be able to do a lot of good. He could do a lot of damage, too.
What have you done?
The leader of the invading army had the chance to escape, but he chose not to take it. Instead, he wanted to confront those that had defeated him and discover just how they had done it. The White Light Empire hadn't been beaten at anything during his 200 years of life.
Isn't it obvious? I beat you.
There was no universe where you could have. I must know how.
Your own technology mixed with Earth intelligence. My intelligence. Our White Light Guardian was so kind as to allow me to analyze her power gauntlet.
The Atomic Fist was kind enough, too.
Yes, he was. Their gauntlets showed me how your system works. And I must say, it was designed by an intellectual infant, putting all the more of your eggs in one basket. A single centralized source to power every similar device in the known universe was simple enough to take advantage of. Your leaders would have been better off having each gauntlet draw its power from the universe around it, like the prototype that our White Light Guardian has. You want to know how the mighty Commander Baird was defeated? He was beaten off by a switch. That is to say, he was beaten by an off switch.
Did we forget to tell you this is an NC-17 kind of? I'm trying to ask you about Atomic Fist. We've got the next one.
There was no way to know what was going through that Guardian's mind. He was the only one that could fathom the damage that was done to the Empire and the lives that were now lost. I know now that their entire empire was powered by that central energy repository.
You knew how it worked. But do you know what it did?
Of course I do. I cut off your supplies. You were an invading army. It wasn't like we invaded one of your worlds or even made a single aggressive act towards your empire.
There is something you're not telling us, Baird. Do you know what that could be, Dr. Richards?
I would think that saving your city and planet would be all you would care about, Mr. Adventure. But if you must know, turning off their power source would shut down anything that was attached to it.
The safety of us heroes and our enemies are what I care about. Tell me what you've done.
Fine, I will tell you.
No need to be so humble, Doctor. Gloat over your triumph over the White Light Empire. The whole of the Empire. We don't just power our weapons with those generators. Every member of the Guardians that wasn't flying has fallen to the ground. Each planet within our empire is powered by that core. Mass chaos and death is occurring all over the Empire. Ships in space and beneath 1,000 seas have all lost power. The reserves will be drained within hours while the lives aboard suffocate on their own stale air. You haven't beaten an army. You have devastated a universe.
Richards, is this true?
Actually, I dare say he is downplaying the disaster that has befallen his empire. It's funny how a complex thing like the rotation of a planet can be dependent on an artificial power source. Right about now, they have stopped spinning in the void and are drifting out of orbit. Perhaps you should have heeded when we gave you the opportunity. You tried to take a single planet. I have destroyed how many of yours?
I will kill you with each of my 4 arms if it is the last thing I do.
Commander Baird leaped free of those holding him, but came face to face with Mr. Adventure.
Why do you stop me? You heard what he did. He committed genocide and you stand by him?
I hate what Richards did, but he didn't start this war. We gave you every chance to cease your attack before, during, and after lives have been lost.
Then you will die too, along with this dealer of death.
Hey, we don't screw around when we fight, I tell you. Eardrums are the first thing to go. Jim's got a moment.
I'm being somber when I'm laughing.
Find your center, find your center.
Yes.
Rubble, debris, rocks, trees, anything that either of them could get their hands on was used as a weapon. Many had come out to see the evil alien that had threatened them. Call it morbid curiosity or civic pride. Men, women, children, reporters, you name it, were out to see the two warriors fight. No one was safe during this titanic clash. They braved getting hurt just to show their pride in their species. He wasn't one of them, so he deserved to be hurt. Ha! From that fight, there was a single victor.
Death.
The two warriors fought with every ounce of energy left in their weary bodies. The area was soaked in sweat and blood as their only focus was on defeating their opponent. But before we discover the outcome of this battle of the ages, we must take a moment for some late-breaking news.
This just in. Reports are flooding in that downtown Sapphire City is being attacked by a group of Dr. Zhao's minions. Instead of their usual targets of local banks or jewelry stores, their focus is on the headquarters of the Sapphire City Police Department. At this time, we are uncertain why they would attack such a well-guarded location, since the precinct is not holding any of known associates of Dr. Zhao. This is a true mystery. So far, neither Dr. Zhao nor Mr. Adventure have made an appearance at the scene. I'm being told that Sapphire City PD is handling the situation as there is no superpowered threat involved. There is the possibility that this is a diversion, freeing some other location for Zhao himself. Until we know more, we will return you to the amazing Pulp Adventures radio show starring Mr. Adventure.
I thought Dr. Zhao never let his minions out to play unless he was nearby holding their leash. I would imagine that he is tired of constantly being foiled by Mr. Adventure. Speaking of Mr. Adventure, let's see how the former Commander Baird is doing against our hero.
Baird, this is pointless. You're outnumbered.
We have a saying where I come from. A true warrior never falters, no matter the odds he faces. I believe you follow that same principle, unless our files on you are inaccurate.
That explosion came from a few blocks away. Did we not get an invitation to that party?
No need to be heartbroken, Shadow Smasher. I can only assume that Doc Phantom is working on containing a few holdouts from the invaders. Besides, I'm sure your invitation is no doubt engraved in gold and just lost in the post.
If I didn't know any better, I'd think that was a joke. Whitelight, would you mind giving us a lift over there while Solomon and the others keep an eye on Adventure?
Sure thing.
One person representing powers bathed in light and the other in shadow vanish to help protect those that live in the city of sapphires. In a flash of heat, a building crumbled to dust, raining down on those below. But it wasn't one of the invaders who brought this terror.
Now what's going on?
That rock there is glowing red hot. I can feel it from here.
I'll take care of the molten rock. Check to see if there are any survivors under the rubble.
You got it.
What could be the cause of this destruction? Any unlucky citizens hurt beneath the debris and ash? Our two heroes are too distracted to see what can only be a trick of the eyes. Once the dust is settled, we will look into it, but first we will check on Mr. Adventure and Commander Baird.
Dr. Richards, shouldn't we stop the fighting? At this stage, it's pointless.
So, I lost my place. So you have been paying attention to the lessons I taught you, Adventure Lad. You see the futility of this act. The leader of the White Light Guardians took me at my word, the word of a man whose race was being invaded by his empire. Not once did it cross his mind that I might not have been telling the truth. Those that only think with their fists are easily manipulated by someone who fights with his mind.
Wait, are you saying that you lied to Commander Beard? You didn't commit genocide on a galactic scale? I'm so glad to hear that, Doctor. You've been very dark lately, and I'm glad you wouldn't go that far. I'm sorry I thought that way.
I don't blame you for thinking what I led you to believe. That was the point in the ruse, my boy. What else have you learned?
That this fighting is unnecessary. They're so blinded by hatred for each other, they aren't even worried about the innocents that are around. If they aren't stopped soon, someone not in the battle could be hurt. I thought Mr. Adventure was smarter than this. Maybe he believes that fighting is the answer, but he needs to take time to listen to the question first.
Oh, are you fight beatboxing?
How very astute of you, my boy. Yes, this does need to end. Mr. Adventure, excuse me. Pardon me, Commander Beard. I said excuse me.
There is no excuse or forgiveness for you. Your was only death!
This isn't the time, Dr. Richards.
I would say that is precisely the time.
Both combatants stop and lower their fists.
Then spill it.
I lied.
What?
I lied.
About what?
Shutting off the white light guardian's source of power.
You didn't? But why would you? We still have the power to defeat you. We will just return and take your planet with more than a single legion.
Does being a warrior mean that you are deaf as well? I lied to you. I never turned off your power source. However, I did use the joined gauntlets of our white light guardian and the atomic fist to create a protective shell around our planet. A shell that would disrupt your energy frequencies. Damn it, man. I'm a scientist, not a murderer. But when I said this planet is defended, I meant it. If I want to shut down your Imperial power core, I have that ability. And now you know it. Oh, and before you get any ideas about killing me, I am not the only one who has the ability to do so.
Mr. Adventure stands in shock at the words that are reaching his ears. Commander Bear drops to his knees out of sheer exhaustion and relief, mixed with a twinge of shame at being deceived so easily. Mr. Adventure eyes Dr. Richards with a mixture of relief and fear. He began to wonder what had happened to the Doctor and his ward, Adventure Lad, before the League of Adventure's heroes had rescued them from the White Light internment camp.
So, my people beyond your world are still alive?
That is what I said. I really dislike repeating myself, you know.
But I have disgraced myself and my people. I let myself be overwhelmed with grief and rage. I did not maintain the control necessary to lead them safely. This is not the way of the warrior.
Just means that you are only human, in a manner of speaking.
Coming from someone as yourself, I will take that as a compliment. There are very few individuals in the universe capable of lasting as long as you did against me. I commend you, Mr. Adventure. You are the defender of not only your city, but of your Earth as well.
Thank you, Commander.
May I remind everyone that it is thanks to me that we are no longer facing an invasion from his empire.
As my defeater, I must ask you to take my life.
I believe I have a much better way for you to atone for your error in judgment.
How?
I think you might quite like it.
What of my people here on your Earth? You don't have the technology to send us home. All of our equipment is useless thanks to the efforts of this, your world's greatest mind.
Finally, an acknowledgement of my utter genius.
I am sure something can be arranged.
Thank you. And what of me?
Before we discover the final fate of Commander Bear of the White Light Guardian Empire, we must turn our attention back towards the good and true White Light Guardian of Sapphire City. She and Shadow Smasher had been busy cleaning up the mess left behind by the curious Molten Rock while rescuing the few survivors.
Shadow, what do you think caused all this destruction?
Is it possible that a gas line burst?
A rupture in a local gas line could cause this much damage, but it wouldn't cause rock or metal to enter into a molten state.
Dread. Yes, that's it. Dread. That's the feeling that's in my stomach right now. Why can't we ever be attacked by someone that just wants to play checkers until we get bored?
Gauntlet, do you know of anything that could cause this sort of damage?
Affirmative. But none of the possible events exist in a natural artificial state on your planet. This analysis is based on the known level of technology.
Wait, hold that thought, you two. There is another one trapped under this patch of rubble. Oy, I'm going to need a hand here.
Without a word, the White Light Guardian used the power of her gauntlet to lift and clear the rubble.
Ow.
Hey, buddy, are you okay? Oh my God, it's Scott from the corner market. Scott! I'm not getting a response from him.
My readings show no life left in him.
We were too late.
White Light Guardian fights the tears that had been forming since they begun their search, knowing that there would be some that would be lost.
Too late, too late! This isn't right, you know. There must be something that we can do besides just reacting to troubles that happen. Just one day I'd like to be there in time to save someone from being hurt, not sitting around waiting for evil to act first.
Oh, sure. They were mad. But it was too late for me. The veil of the final breath had already slipped from my lips, or some other poetic word for me be dead. But hey, this is Sapphire City, and death isn't always the last chapter written in this city. How many times have the dead risen within the city limits? 4, 5 times now? Maybe I should just wait around for the master of zombies to return to action.
We have to figure out what happened here before it happens again, before another life is lost.
Once we finish here, we'll need to get the rest of the team and see if they can make heads or tails out of this.
We should also drag Dr. Richard out to see this.
I wonder how he's going to feel about it.
There's no telling with him anymore. He just hasn't been the same since his return.
I was talking about feeding that ego of his.
What do you mean? The Dr. Richards I knew was very humble, all egghead. I didn't understand half of what he said, but I wouldn't say it was his ego. He just had a problem relating with normal people.
I wish I had known him before the death of his daughter. That happened while I was training to become the White Light Guardian, and I went off to train with my gauntlet. And of course, I wish you didn't mention something about the rest of the White Light Guardians and their eventual attack.
Well, that would have been nice. His change also occurred about the time we were dealing with Michael Aztec and Dark Mask.
Dark Mask. He's the evil version of Mr. Adventure from the parallel world Delta, right? Do you think it's possible that this darker Dr. Richards is the Dr. Richards from that world, and ours is still lost out there somewhere?
That is a good theory and a possibility. The best one to ask would be Adventureland. But you said something about his ego. What did you mean by that?
The entire time that Atomic Fist and I were dealing with him, he spoke to us in a very condescending way.
Well, we have all been under quite a bit of stress. I'm sure it's nothing personal.
We've all been dealing with a lot of garbage lately. But you should still watch your attitude when you're dealing with two individuals that have enough juice to power Sapphire City indefinitely. More than once he attempted to remove the Atomic Fist gauntlet, which went over as well as you can imagine. I think I was the only thing that kept them from killing each other. Richards not only wanted to stop the invaders, he wanted to humiliate them as well. Now tell me, does that sound like the humble scientist you know?
No, it doesn't.
Was it just stress that had changed Dr. Richards? Is the White Light Guardian right about the possible switch from Earth Delta? Questions abound, but that's always been our speciality on the Amazing Cult Adventures radio show. But for now, we must take a moment for a word from our sponsor.
Hello, fellow citizens. It is time once again to ask you, the citizen on the home front, to do your part to help our fighting forces overseas. Turn in your change and buy V for Victory bonds. The money we raise goes straight into the machines that manufacture equipment and bullets to help our boys. We know that times are tough on everyone. We understand you may not have the spare change to buy bonds, but not to fret as there are a few other things you can do to do your part. You can plant victory gardens to cut down on your need for canned goods. We are producing less and less each day. That can of corn may be able to feed your family for a day, but the metal in that can can bring down at least 10 jerrys when used by just one of our boys. And ladies, we know the sacrifice that you're making by not buying those stockings that show off your games. All the boys are looking forward to coming home and wrapping their arms around their gals.
I think that's probably into their
But there is more. But there is more that you can do. So visit your local USA office today. From what I hear, Mr. Adventure is doing his part. Are you? Are you?
I know I am. And I can tell you that Mr. Adventure is doing his part every chance he can to help out on the home front and overseas. From selling bonds to taking out Nazi scum with his 1-2 punch, he's doing his part. We shall now return to Sapphire City, not when we left off, but a week later.
Whoa, a week. I wish time flew by like that. You cut to a commercial and you're a week later. Troubles didn't seem so far away. Much has happened since the invasion of the White Light Empire. For most folk, things have returned to normal. Hitler has restarted his invasion. You'd think that seeing what had just happened across the globe, we'd come together as a people. I wonder how many more times we must be invaded from otherworldly enemies before we put aside our differences. You might be wondering what happened to the White Light folks. All but one was returned to the stars thanks to the help of Doc Phantom. Oh yeah, Dr. Richards is getting a statue in Sapphire City Park. He would tell anyone that listened that without his genius, the day would have been one. I guess it depends on who you ask.
With Dr. Richards' name spoken, we should see what he is doing at this very moment. He's standing inside his laboratory with an open letter from the mayor of Sapphire City.
A statue? A statue? I saved the world and all I get is a statue in the park. This entire city would be dead and the planet subjugated if it wasn't for my genius. I saved millions of lives on both sides of this conflict. I could have wiped out civilizations if I wanted. They should name an award after me. No, a city. No, a country after me. Or more. Wait, I've had it all wrong. Now I see it so much clearer than before. Maybe, but no, I couldn't. Could I? What's the word they use in comic books? A team up? Yes, I could work from the shadows so no one would suspect me. An unseen savior from the shadows. Once control was gained, I could easily snatch it from the individual I worked with. But who? Who would be worthy of the honor of working with me? Who indeed?
Are my ears playing tricks on me? Could the new leaf that Dr. Richards is turning over be an evil leaf? Only time will tell. From Sapphire City University, we travel to the brownstone headquarters of the League of Adventures Heroes, where Mr. Adventure is presenting its latest team member to the world during a press conference.
A lot has happened over the past month here in Sapphire City. At one point, it was the only free city in the world, thanks in part to Doc Phantom, who could not be here today as he is scanning the spectral plane. Thanks are also due to Dr. Peter Richards at Sapphire City University. The world is free again thanks to his cunning plan. He also could not be here as he is off discovering wondrous scientific knowledge and inventions. We aren't here just to give these brave fellows a hearty clap on the back. We are here to introduce you all to the newest addition to the League of Adventures Heroes. I'm sure there will be a lot of questions for both him and us, but without further ado, allow me to introduce to you Baird.
I told you this was a bad idea.
No, it isn't.
Look at them.
Don't worry, I'll take care of this. I know many of you are stunned by a former enemy becoming an ally. Need I remind you of Doc Tech? When he first came to Sapphire City, his goal was to steal and terrorize, but he had a change of heart and became one of my most trusted friends. This city was built on second chances, helping those that have lost their way to find it once again. I gave Baird the opportunity to choose his own way to atone for the things he did. He has exiled himself from his planet, his friends, his family, his home.
Another explosion?
Yay! In a quiet week. It's bound to lighten up at some point.
Do you think this could be the same thing that attacked the city right after the invasion was stopped?
I wouldn't doubt it.
Well, then it looks like we are off once more. Baird, would you care to join us?
I would like to lend a hand. And hey, I've got 4 to offer.
That's the spirit.
Baird, you're new to the team, so I'll let that slide. I'm the joke teller.
Once more, they run off to save the day. Question is that day worth saving?
Another building down. It's just like before. All that's left is molten rocks and steel.
Well, boys and girls, let's get to work.
We need to take a quick break as we are getting an update from the Sapphire City Police Department.
And now for an update. It appears that the situation at the Sapphire City PD headquarters has been resolved by the Sapphire City PD. They masterfully handled the retaking of their HQ. And from what we are being told, there was no loss of life in this daring siege. The commissioner's military background was a huge asset today. It just goes to show you don't always need a mask to save the day. However, there is still no word as to why the minions of Sal have decided to attack the STPD's headquarters. I'm sure it will only be a matter of time before one of them cracks and spills the beans. But, for now, the men beans will be sent to the Sapphire City Correctional Facility in the outskirts of the city. That's all from us, so let's turn this back over to the Amazing Pulp Adventures radio show.
Now I must deliver sad news, as that's all the time we have for this latest episode of the Amazing Pulp Adventures radio show, starring everyone's favorite hero of the city of tomorrow today, Mr. Adventure. But not to worry, as we will shortly... Wait, what is this?
Just as they close the book, another chapter, another page forces itself to be heard. Why does my story end here and not continue when your heroes failed me at my time of need? I saw the molten light appear in the form of a fallen man. A man who gave his life to save a tarnished, blood-soaked city. But as I have said before, death here in this city does not always mean it is the end. My name is Scott.
Hello, Scott.
I died in the city of a hope-filled tomorrow. A city that only brings death. My story isn't finished. I just don't know when it will continue.
I have to say that this has never happened before. Then again, when you are dealing with the wonderful and unknown, you never know what is going to happen next, especially here in Sapphire City, the city of tomorrow today. Questions are stacked one upon another. Who is this Scott? When did he depart the land of the living, and when will this story continue? How is Sapphire City going to take to this would-be conqueror turned hero? Will Dr. Richards come to his senses, and if not, who would he team up with? What is this mysterious new threat to befall Sapphire City, and where does it come from? These and many more questions will be answered on the next episode of the Amazing Pulp Adventures radio show. But before we leave, we want to thank ConCarolinas once again for allowing us to bring the show to you, the listening audience. So until next time, remember, stay vigilant and stay adventurous! We had a few hiccups, but we just worked through them, and it ended up being funny, which is something I always love to do on our live shows. We always like to have an element of fun. Sometimes it's an occasional word of ad-lib, sometimes it's direct changing a possible meaning.
It's the joy of live performance.
Yes, exactly.